Hi everybody, just jumping on here to get my Hostess Club for July all done. I hope that you are able to hear me. There we go. Hopefully the sound is okay. This time I know last month there was comments of it just not being loud enough, so hopefully I was able to fix that today. I did turn up my software today. All right, so I guess if you cannot hear me or the sound isn't working, I could probably try to re-record this at a later date. But I am going to assume that all is well because it looks like it's okay on my end. So for the month of July, we made these two cards. Really feel like I'm gonna have to explore some new software options. I noticed that my hands are like super blurry when I move them, and I think that has just happened in the last 2 months, so I don't know what the deal is on that, and I apologize. So we're just gonna get through today, and then I really will probably have to start looking at some new recording software. All right, so these are the two cards we made, and we used Countryside Corners, and on this card you can see we have this border right here, and then we also used Cheerful Daisies on both, and then I cannot remember what stamp set I got the happy birthday from. But if you must know, just send me a message and I will figure it out for you, because obviously I'm going to have to put the stamp back in its case at some point. So let me know on that. All right, so let's go ahead and we are going to get started. So the first card is this one, and it is the Lost Lagoon. And I am going to actually, I believe I have enough stuff cut and prepped for 2 of these cards. So I am going to go ahead and I am just going to probably make 2 cards. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I am going to score my card base at 5.5 inches. And now remember, this piece measures 4 1/4 by 5.5. Let me turn on another light here. See how that goes. Hopefully that is enough light. All right. And score this one at 5.5 as well. All right, before I put my trimmer away, I am going to take my 2 pieces. These were embossed with our brick 3D embossing folder, and I'm just going to trim these down to 5 inches. Nope. 5 1/4 inches. Nope. Where's my card? All right, so 5 inches. 5 inches. All right, I'm going to trim that at 5 inches and rotate, and then cut it at 3 3/4. So this piece will measure 3 3/4 by 5. So let me do that one more time. Trim this down at 5 inches, and then rotate it and trim it at 3 3/4. Okay. So those 2 pieces are ready to go, and I am going to, you know what, I think I left one of my glue bottles downstairs, so I'm going to have to find a different glue bottle for today. All right, so this one should work. I'm just going to get this piece out of the way, and I'm going to glue it right to the front. And usually when I am working on a card front, I usually just leave my card face open like this, just so that everything lays flat. So I'm going to glue that flat down just like that. I'm going to go ahead and repeat that on this side, just like this. Alrighty. So there we go. I'm going to go ahead and I am going to set these two pieces to the side right there. And I am going to grab my mini Misty. Now, I know we don't sell it. We no longer sell the Stamparatus. But for this project, it is just easier if I use a stamping platform. I'm going to get in here, and in my box here, I have two pieces of Bristol Smooth watercolor paper, and I'm going to stamp my daisies on this Bristol Smooth watercolor paper. And we are going to heat emboss them so we can do a little bit of watercoloring. So let me grab my ink. Those two things. And my white embossing powder. Now we're going to do a little bit of watercoloring. So I'm going to open up my mini Misty here. Okay, I'm going to stick this watercolor. Again, this is Bristol Smooth Vellum watercolor paper. And I just buy my watercolor paper in bulk at Hobby Lobby. And then I always have it on hand. Now, I like the Bristol Smooth Vellum just because it is super, super smooth. So I took my anti-static powder tool. Now I am going to go ahead and ink up my daisies. And press down. And then I am actually going to do that one more time because I like to make sure I have plenty of ink on my daisies, because I really want my embossing powder to stick really well. All right, so I am actually going to stamp another one since I am doing both cards at the same time. And I've already done the anti-static powder tool. We're gonna stamp, press, put that in there in the corner again. All right, so now I can go ahead and take that out. And I'm going to just set this off to the side. There we are. I'm going to grab my tweezers. I'm done with my ink pad and my anti-static powder tool. And I'm going to just hold my piece of cardstock right over . And I just put powder on one flower at a time. And then I just dump it right back in to my container. I also like to let it sit for a second before tapping it off so that it gets a good coverage. So you can kind of see that, hopefully. I'm just going to leave that with the tweezers attached and grab another pair of tweezers here. Here we go. Make sure I have good coverage. I'm going to do my one in this corner. And there we go. All right, and I'm going to just tape my spoon to the top. This is removable tape, so it'll be easy to take off later when I need to. Grab my heat gun. Here it is. Is it plugged in? That is the question. There we go. So with my heat gun, I like to heat it up just a little before I hit the paper. And when you're heat embossing, you want to watch for the powder to turn from a powder to a shiny white. And so I don't know if you can see that in the video, but when you're up close doing it, it turns into a shiny glossy white and it loses that powder look. Whoop. And let that one cool right there. Then I'm going to do this one real quick. If I were not going to be die cutting these out, I would probably heat from both the front and the back to keep my paper from warping, but since I'm going to be die cutting these out, it'll be just fine. All right, so there we go. Now I'm going to grab a block. Any clear acrylic block will be fine. And I am going to watercolor all these daisies with Moody Mauve. So I'm going to just put a little bit of ink right there on the corner of that block. And then I'm going to put the other ink on the corner of this side. So I have a little ink palette. Now let me grab my water brush. There's my water painter, but I will be honest, I would rather just put a little bit of water into a little dish. Just because I feel like I have more control. So let me grab a small little dish here. There we go. Grab my water. I just have a spray bottle here with some water. Just a little. There we go. Doesn't take much water for this technique. All right, I am going to just grab a paper towel. Keep little pieces of paper towel cut up just for little projects like this. All right, I am going to, now I cannot take full credit for this. I did watch a video and I'll have to figure out who it was that I watched. And so I can let you know and give credit where credit is due. I'm just taking my clean water and just putting water down on my two smaller daisies, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to take a little of the Moody Mauve and I'm just going to drop it in, and I'm just going to let it do its thing. Okay, then while that's kind of doing its thing, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put some water down on the bigger daisy, and then I'm going to drop in the ink, and let it do its thing. Okay, now I can come over here and kind of make sure that it's all filled in all the way to the ends of the flowers. If you go out of the lines, it's okay, because like I said, we are gonna die cut these out. One thing about watercoloring is the more water, the lighter your flowers will be. The more water, the less amount of water, the deeper the color will be. So, all right, I think that's about good for that one. Now I'm going to come back in with some darker. I'm just going to kind of tip it in here with the Blackberry Bliss, just around the center. Just around the center of all the flowers. And just let the water do all the work. Remember, it is supposed to be organic. All right, so I'm going to just set those ones aside. I'm going to give this one a little bit more there, because that'll die cut out. And then I'm going to come over here, add some water down to my big one, and I'm going to do it all again. All right. And then I'm going to set when I'm done watercoloring these, I'll just set them aside so that I can do the rest of the card. And then if it's not completely dry by the time I'm done with the rest of the card, I will come back over and I'll just run my heat tool over it to help it dry. I like to let it air dry as much as possible though. So, all right, a little bit of the Blackberry Bliss. The pink that we're using today is Moody Mauve. Ooh, I like that at the ends. Let's do a little of the darker at the tips. A little different of a look, huh? Like I said, all of this, you know, I am going out of the lines, but die cutting it out, it'll be perfect, okay? You can use your paper towel to sop up anything extra. There we go. So I am all done watercoloring. My brush is clean. I will wipe off my block. A little my paper towel in there. And I actually have a fan on here next to me, so I'm just going to set these over here, and hopefully they will dry while I finish making the card. All right, so my little water tray is all clean. So next up, I am going to grab my Stamparatus here, and I have it set up. I have it set up with the Countryside Corners. Now, when I first got this stamp, I was not impressed. I really thought all of these would be separate, or at least like you could take them apart, but it comes as one. And then all of the die cuts are in here. Comes in the bundle, and then you can die cut each piece out separately. So I'm actually going to need this die cut because I am going to cut out this triple stitching one. So let me grab the paper to stamp that. All right, I have a couple just in case I mess up. I stamped the inside, messed up a few times, but we'll see what we have left over when we get done here. All right, so I'm going to take this and my Blackberry Bliss, and I'm just going to stick my Whisper White cardstock in here. And all I need to do, because is I just need to cover that centerpiece, you know, because it's already stamped on my paper. And I think that will probably work. Put my magnet down. Now you don't need to worry about any of the rings except for the one that you're stamping, or that one that you need. So the only one that I want to make sure is perfect is this one here. It's the second one from the outside, and it has like a triple stitching. And so when I come in and I look, I want to make sure that that one looks good. All right, I'm going to set that there. And then I'm going to grab a second piece here, and I'm going to stamp again. All right. That one looks good as well. So I'm going to take that off. And I am done with the countryside corners. For some reason, I do not have a stamp chamois on my desk, so I'm just going to take a baby wipe. Wipe that down. Because we are finished with this stamp. Comes off as one piece, and then we just stick it back in here. And it is done. I'll set that back behind me. This is just extra, so we'll throw that down there. Alright, so I don't get anything on my hand. So I am going to take my die cut and I am going to line it up right there. That looks good. And I am going to take a couple pieces of my repositionable tape. There we are. And I'm going to run this right through my Gemini. Here we go. That looks good. All right, I'm going to run this one through real quick. Now I've already die cut the piece that's going to cover up that octagon in the middle. So I won't need to do that. Okay. Grab my case here. Stick that in. There we go. So this piece here is the next size down, and I'm going to stamp on it before I glue it down, but you see how it's going to cover up all the inside so you can't see all those extra pieces. All right, but before I do that, I want to stamp Happy Birthday in Blackberry Bliss, and I'm going to stamp that right there on both pieces. There we go. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Okay. Now these pieces are ready to go on here. So I am going to grab my dimensionals. Oh, those are minis. I don't want to use my minis. we will use my regular size. So I'm going to flip this over and I am going to pop up this octagon. Put plenty of dimensionals because I don't want it to sag in the middle. And then after I am done putting this piece on, I'm going to need my, what I call weeds. I don't know if they're branches. I don't know what they're supposed to be called, but I've been calling them weeds. So I need my weeds, and I have already die cut them because for this particular card, I needed like 6 per card. So I have already, to save you the time of die cutting 6 of those for each card, which would be 12, I've already die cut them. So I'm just going to grab those and we're going to put those on next. All right, so there's that. And there's that one. So those 2 are done, just like that. Now I'm going to glue these flat onto my card front. Go. Right in the center. Right in the center again. There we go. So now those ones are ready. So like I said, I already had all of my weeds. They're die cut. Now I went on a trip to San Diego and I knew I had to die cut a lot of these for my Hostess Club. So I brought my mini die cut machine and sat in the airport during our 4-hour layover and die cut until I was so tired of die cutting, but we got them done. Okay. All right, so you needed 2 of each color, and I just have those laid out on the top. Before I glue these down, I want to get my daisies die cut out so that I can kind of use my daisies as a guide for where I want to officially glue these down. Look, it looks like I have 2 left, 2 spare, so maybe we'll stick them in. Okay? Because apparently I can't count, but that's okay. All right. Grab my watercolor pieces, and they are dry, so I don't even have to hit them with the heat gun. So I'm going to grab my die cuts. 1, 2, and 3. This bundle is amazing. So you get all the dies, plus you get extra dies just to make 3D daisies, and a little plaque die. All right, so let me grab my Gemini plates here, because I'm just going to run these through my Gemini. Now, the nice thing about these dies is I feel like they are pretty easy to line up because each daisy has like a flatter side. It's not as fluffy. The petals are a little shorter. So I call that the flatter side. So that's what makes them easier to line up. There we go. Make sure it looks good right there. Make sure this one looks good. All right. Now I'm going to run those through the die cut machine. All right, 1, 2, 3. And because these are all lined up on the other paper and they were the same size and they stamped in the same spot, I probably shouldn't do that. I was gonna try. I'm not that good though. We'll see. Let's see here. That one looks good. That one looks good. And I think my big daisy looks good. There we go. Pretty good. There we go. Run that through my Gemini. And there we are. Okay, I'm going to leave those together because I'm going to have to die cut them again here for the next card. So here we are. I've got my 2 cards here. I have all of my weeds. I'm going to kind of arrange these however I want them. Got a little piece here. There we go. Like that and like that. That looks pretty good. And then I'm going to take this one and kind of maybe like right there. And then this one I'm going to put right here. I think that will look good. And then this other one, it actually goes on the inside. I'm just going to take some glue. And just put it just like that. And then I will take my pop-ups. I guess they're called dimensionals, right? Go. And there we go. All right, so that's the first card front. Let me go ahead and just redo the second card in the same way. I'm going to make sure they're not hanging off the edge of the card, otherwise they will get bent. I'm going to do that one that way. Just a little bit different. There we go, and then that one goes on the inside of the card as well. All right, so those are the card fronts. And then I have a little bit of this, like this is old, like shimmer brush from, I don't even, well, close to my heart for many, many years ago. And if you know, know me, you know I was a close to my heart consultant for 18 years. So I have lots of stuff, and this still works, and this is just a little shimmer. You could use, Stampin' Up! Has Winka Stella, so that would definitely be usable. And then I'm just going to take and I'm going to just brush this. This one's a pinky color. I'm just going to put that on my pink weeds. And then I'm going to give some splatter. A little shimmer splatter will look great. There we go. Just kind of brush out that little shimmer. There we go. Very, very, very cute. So that is the front. And while I get ready for the inside, I've already have one stamped. I'm going to stamp the other one. And I am going to be stamping that with Lost Lagoon. I hope. My ink pad's not here in my pile. Not up there either. I am not sure where my Lost Lagoon ink pad went. Let me go check on the table and see if it got left over there. Well, that is bizarre. It is missing. So with that being said, if it's missing, I won't stamp until I find it, but I can at least finish this one. So I'm going to glue my other daisy just like that. And then I have all these random strips. And these were just honestly cut randomly. I'm going to just put a thin bead of glue down on the bottom. Now I'm gluing these down first because they may be a little bit longer than this piece, and this piece measures 4 inches by is it 4 inches by 5 1/4? I believe so. All right, see how this one hangs off a little? So I'm just going to grab my scissors and I am going to trim that off. And I'm also going to take my shimmer brush here and I'm just going to add a little shimmer on that Moody Mauve, and then in the center of this daisy. And then I'm going to do some flicks. Okay, there we go. How pretty is that inside? Can you see that shimmer? There we are. So I'm going to go ahead, flip that over. Oh, I found my Lost Lagoon pad. It was over here on the other side of me. So I'll stamp and finish the inside of the other card now. There we go. Nice and centered. And there is one finished card with all the shimmer. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my other piece here and my Lost Lagoon ink pad. And I'm going to stamp my stem. Now when I stamped my stem, stamped it towards the bottom right hand side, about 3/4 of an inch in. Then I'm going to take my leaf and I'm going to stamp 2 leaves, one on each side of the stem. There we go. And that's it for that. Now I'll take and glue my little daisy that I had left from the front. And then we'll go ahead and we'll add a couple random, this one I'll put 3 just because, you know, I have all these random strips here. But it's totally up to you how many you want. And I'm going to do the Moody Mauve in the middle. This one's super, super skinny. Do my best to make it straight. That's the good thing about liquid glue is you have a little wiggle room. Trim my edges. A little shimmer. And I'm going to do some right here in the middle on the white as well. Oh. And some flicks. And some. All right, so I noticed when I put the other one in, I kind of smeared some of the shimmer because it wasn't quite dry. So I'm going to wait a second to put that one in. So I'm just going to set that to the side. And we are done with our first card. I'm going to go ahead and put my needle back in my glue and get a couple things wiped up before we start card number 2. All right. I love it when my card boxes end up pretty much empty. This is what I store my class stuff in for each card. So just have some scraps left in that one I gotta take care of. So we'll move that to the side. Now we will pull out our next one. I'm gonna pull out all the pieces. Obviously I have way too many pieces left, but that's okay. I will put what I don't need back in the box and then we'll move on. All right, so this is the second card and it says wishing you the brightest birthday and it folds like this. Okay, so we are gonna actually start this card by doing our card base first. And so it looks like I have 3 bases. So I'll do this 3 times so that way you can see it 3 times. All right, so this is a half a sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. And I'm going to start off by scoring each one at 4 1/4. 4 1/4. 4 1/4. And 4 1/4. Now I'm going to come over and I'm going to rotate my cardstock and I'm going to cut it line it up at the 3-inch mark, and then I'm going to cut it down to the score line. Okay, so just like that. And when I come up, there we go. I have 2 flaps, so I'll do that again. Line it up with the 3-inch mark, cut it down to the score line, line it up with the 3-inch mark, and cut it down to the score line. All right, now the 3-inch piece needs to stay connected. So that's my bottom piece when I rotated it. This piece, so this whole thing is 5 1/2. This is 3 inches, this is 2 1/2. I'm going to cut at 4 1/4, that's where I scored. I'm going to cut the 3-inch piece or the 2 1/2-inch piece off. Okay? Just like that. So my card base now looks like this. Okay? So I'm gonna use this piece, so don't throw it away. I'm gonna do it again. I'm going to line it up at the 4 1/4 mark, and I'm going to cut down to that 3-inch mark so that that piece gets cut off. And one more time. Now, if you don't want to put it back in your trimmer, you could certainly use some bigger scissors and just cut it off. That's totally up to you. All right, before I put this away, these pieces here that I had left over, so here's my 3 card bases. Okay, I have these left over. I'm going to score them at 1/4 inch on one end. One, 2, just at 1/4 inch, okay? There we go. So now I have my card bases. This piece here is the inside of my card, and I'm going to fold this over so it looks like that. So this is now the front of my card. I'm going to grab my bone folder and burnish my edges on my card. Just like that. And this edge, you know, with the cut, it kind of, like the cutter indents it. So I just run my bone folder across it to smooth it out. And you can see this one, I have just a little slight edge. So I am going to grab my big scissors and I'm just going to trim just that little edge off. All right, so I'm going to fold these on the score mark on these other pieces here. Score line there. And I'm going to just glue these. Now, this piece is going to get glued here. You can really do this wherever you want along this top edge, as long as it's flush with the top edge. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue right there on that score, that little flap. And then I'm going to do my best to line it up in the center and keep it all flush so I have a nice flush edge there, just like that. Okay? And I'm going to do that on all 3. Now, keep in mind, it does not have to be centered. In fact, this one, let's not center it, just so you can see how it will look. I am going to put this one over flush with the right-hand side. I'm going to probably have to change my design up a little bit with this one, but I just want to show you it's okay. All right. And then my last one. I won't worry about centering it. I will just stick it on here somewhere. It's a little to the right, but it's definitely not centered. All right. Now I'm going to take my inside pieces that measure 4 by 5.5 or 4 by 5.25, and I am going to glue these right here, just like that. And I'm going to cover the flap. Just like that. And then, there we go. That's what my card base looks like now. Do this one. Like that. There we go. Okay. Now I have these pieces. So you have a flower piece that fits on a white piece like that. There we go. We're going to go ahead and glue those pieces right onto the center of the white pieces. I just really love this Moody Mauve cardstock, or the color. It's just so pretty. Now this piece here gets glued on to the 3-inch section that we had on our card front. Just like that. Perfect. All right, so that's those pieces. Now, I have lots of that size left, but I don't have any of this size left. So let me measure. Actually, let me grab my sticky note that has my measurement there. Two and 3/8 by 3 and 7/8. That's it. All right, 2 and 3/8 by 3 and 7/8. All right, there we go. Take these scraps and So these pieces are going to get glued right here, but before I glue them, I'm going to stamp my leaves in the background in Old Olive. So I want 1, 2 up in the corner, 1 right there, 1 right here, 1 right there. Okay. Go. There we go. And now I need to grab those daisies back from, remember they're still in my Misty here. Let's see, that paper is just perfect. And this time I am going to stamp my daisies with Blackberry Bliss. There we are. 1. 2. And 3. And to color these daisies, we're actually going to use the solid part stamps that come with the Cheerful Daisies, and we're going to actually stamp the insides of these daisies with Bubble Bath. Such a pretty, pretty, pretty pink. I'm going to just leave my baby wipe right this. All right. A little bubble bath. And then when you stamp these ones, you just line it up the best you can and straight down, straight up. Isn't that pink just so pretty? I have to pull this closer so I can make sure I have it lined up correctly. All right, you didn't get to see that one, but let me do it over here now. A little tickle in my throat. There we go. And then I will do the third one. So these flowers stamped completely different Different technique. Just as beautiful as the other ones. All right, we are done with that color. Now I'm going to take the Moody Mauve and I'm going to stamp the insides. So when I look at my center of the big flower, there's like a flat side and a rounded side. I think that the flatter side goes down towards the shorter petals. I don't know what's right or wrong. That's just how I've been doing it. And then the smaller inside actually goes with both. Okay? Of the smaller ones. There we go. Those are all done. I'm going to go ahead and grab my dies. Hopefully they still line up. They should. They're all taped together. I'm going to stick that on here just like that. All right, let me run it through my Gemini. Do this one more time. And I have 2 banners cut, but I think I need a third one. So I am going to grab the banner die out of the Daisy set. And I'm going to cut one more banner or plaque or shape. I don't even know. What are those even called? There we are. And one more set of flowers. I tell you, this week has been so crazy busy. My husband and I took the leap and we got a puppy. And let me tell you, this girl is not used to having a puppy house, okay? When you have old dogs, life is easy. Puppies, not so easy. In fact, I'm hoping I left the puppy downstairs to take a nap in the kennel. So I hope he is still sleeping until I'm done with this video. All right. There we go. I'll worry about that later. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to stamp my sentiment that says, wishing you the brightest birthday on this last plaque. Excuse my head if it gets in there. Huh, not bad at all. All right, let's finish up these cards and call it a day. I'm going to glue the white on the flap, center it up. There we go. Just like that. There we go. All right, get my dimensionals here. All right, so this one I'm going to glue here. This one is going to go right there. And this one is going to go right there. Then I have a little dimensional on one side. I'm going to actually put, I'm going to put the dimensional there. And then I'm going to put glue on the other side so it stays flush. With this one, I can't have it hanging over because that's the edge of the card there. There we go. So that's that one. Let's go ahead and do the next one. All right, so this one will go there. This guy will go here. This guy will go here. I'm going to put two little foamies there. And this one is actually going to hang a little bit off the edge. And for I have one bow already tied, so I'm going to put the bow on this one, but it doesn't really matter. I'm going to just use glue. I'm not going to put bows on the other two, but I'm just going to set my bowl of blocks here on top of that bow. Put some tools in there. There we go. That'll dry. It's the only bow I have. I don't think I'm going to add bows to the other two cards that I'm making, just because I don't know that it has to have a bow. I think it looks good. And I'm going to use this outside strip because here we are. I use it because I can. There we are. Go ahead and take off the backing of there. And we'll stick these down. Go. A little liquid glue on this side. And oh, I have foam tape too far over. So let me just take my scissors, trim that off. There we go. All right. Now I will take my little shimmer brush again and just add it to the centers of my petals. And this one should be almost dry. The glue. There we are. So there, 3 of those, all of those top pieces in different places, and it looks great no matter where you decide to put it. There's my pin for my glue, and then there's the original. All right, I hope that you enjoyed the Hostess Club today, and I will see you next month. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.